Next matchup, Tom, your Baltimore Ravens are playing the Colts. I guess the big question here is Anthony Richardson going to play? What Colts team are we going to be getting?
It doesn't sound like he's going to. I mean, he's still going through the concussion protocol. And I think for a rookie as raw as Anthony Richardson, I don't think you necessarily want to put him in on a week with no practice going up against a defense like this Ravens one, which is led by Mike McDonald, the defensive coordinator, who put Joe Burrow in a complete tailspin last week. So I think games like that, you would have wanted Anthony Richardson having a full week of practice of it. You know, he's playing in training against those looks and they're really drilling down on it. So I'd be very surprised at this point if Anthony Richardson starts. I think the Colts have enough faith in Gardner Minshew. Like, he came in last week and he was serviceable. He did all right. I think there's no reason for them to be overly worried about what it looks like with Gardner Minshew. But I don't particularly think that the Colts are going to have a huge amount of success this week. I think when you look at the Colts defense for allowing the fifth highest rate per pass attempt at 7.9 yards. I think what the Ravens are doing right now is an incredibly well-balanced attack, 47% run ratio to 53% pass. And the Ravens wide receiver target share is up by 26% compared to this last year's average. They are spreading the ball around. You know, we saw in week one, it was Zay Flowers. Last week, it was kind of Mark Andrews, Zay Flowers, and Nelson Aguilar when Odell Beckham got injured. I would be surprised if Odell Beckham plays. I feel like the Ravens probably sit him. So maybe this is finally the week where we see Rashad Bateman get a little bit more involved and we see him ramping back up to what we kind of hoped he would be. But one thing's for sure, it's like Mark Andrews is always going to be Lamar's favorite target. During the offseason, there were people talking up, Mark Andrews won't see the volume that he used to because they've got better wide receivers now. Well, he walked back in last week to a 24% target share against the Bengals, and 50% of those came on third or fourth downs when you need to make a play. So I think the Ravens side of things is quite straightforward. I'm not touching the running backs. I don't think that that's a position I want to get involved in. On the Ravens side, Justice Hill has a toe injury. Gus Edwards is Gus Edwards, and maybe he gets you 2 touchdowns, but you need 2 touchdowns and probably 80 yards to pay off this price on this slate.
Do you think
Zach Moss,
if Justice Hill doesn't go, which it seems like he's potentially going to miss this week, does that make you more interested in Gus Edwards?
No, not particularly. I think Melvin Gordon or Kenyon Drake would see some level of involvement, but it's just, well, in redraft or dynasty, I'd absolutely be fine starting Gus Edwards if Justice Hill doesn't play. I think that's clear. You can definitely start him in those scenarios. But in terms of DFS for leverage upon the field, we have to look at what Gus Edwards brings to the table, even at 5,300. And you say, okay, well, I probably need 18 to 20 points to really make this play worthwhile. And I'm just not sure Gus Edwards has that in him unless he gets a 100-yard bonus and at least 1 touchdown. In terms of the Colts side, Zach Moss was probably a bit like, I didn't expect anything from Zach Moss last week. And shout out to our friend James Lacey, who was all over him in DFS. And Zach Moss goes out, takes a huge amount of touches and does okay with them. So Zach Moss, if you really wanted a contrarian play, you could probably play him, but Joe Mixon didn't do much against this Ravens defensive front, so I'm not sure Zach Moss will. I don't know. Do you see it any differently?
I really like Zach Moss. I think he's a top 15 back for me, but I think this is the difference between, you know, setting a managed league lineup in a dynasty league or a redraft league to DFS. It's, yeah, I really like him as a solid RB2, but I don't think I'll have any exposure in terms of DFS. The one player I'm really intrigued on, we've talked on Anthony Richardson. I think I'd be shocked if he starts this week. This is the reason why you bring in Gardner Minshew, is so that if, you know, there is any questionable weeks, you can just rest Anthony Richardson, roll with Minshew and know that you're going to keep most stuff ticking along. But from a dynasty perspective, I've seen enough for Anthony Richardson. I'm all in. I think he's a top 8 dynasty quarterback. I'm happy paying. He's getting up to 3 first territory for me. I think that for me, we knew the rushing production was going to be there. We knew he was going to have accuracy issues. But the thing that I've been so impressed with is his pocket awareness, the fact that he just doesn't take sacks. He's making all the right reads. It's not just that, we talk about these athletic quarterbacks, and the hit on them always seems to be, well, they can't process. He is going 1, 2, 3 better than any rookie I've seen in the last 2 or 3 years. He's phenomenal. The only question is accuracy, and I think that doesn't need to be there. I think he's a good enough passer that he can get by on what he is at the moment. So, yeah, I'm all in. If you can go and buy Anthony Richardson in a dynasty league because people don't realize that he's going to be a superstar, I think Anthony Richardson is what everybody wants Justin Fields to be, basically.
Yeah, and I think you can absolutely stack Michael Pittman as a bring back to Ravens stacks this week. I think if you're looking at Lamar and Andrews or Lamar Andrews Flowers or any kind of thing like that, Michael Pittman's shown that it doesn't matter whether it's Gardner Minshew or Anthony Richardson at quarterback. He's been very fantasy viable over the last 2 weeks.